Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm Mike Daggs. He's my Valentine. He's Gerald Smith. Same thing.
You're my Valentine.
There you go. We even wore like Valentine's-y
Yeah,
colors.
I got purple. Sure.
Did you say purple?
Purple.
What's purple?
It's this
Just
color.
that?
It's purple.
Oh,
There's purple and there's purple.
I'm in red.
It's just red.
Just red.
There's no special name for red.
Not really.
Unless you had, light red, which is pink.
Right. This is definitely not light red. I feel like the Kool-Aid man on this set right now. Like I want to go bust through the wall or something. But anyway, behind the scenes, we got production crew, Cameron Irvine and Ron Haynes. Welcome to week seven of season 24 in the Simulation Football League. Excited to get this one going, but it's a shorter week of SFL football.
And it's a shame because we have such good football, a lot of different things happening. Guys win a lot of games by a lot of points. And then we had another shutout this week. This is probably, it's got to be a record. So many shutouts have happened so far this season. And I don't know, are we going to have a shutout coming week 7?
I don't know. We'll see. There's not a lot of games in week 7. There's only 8 total games. It's our shortest week yet. So
somebody got to make it. Chicago.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City. Somebody's going to score 0 points.
It could go into overtime, 0-0, and then end with a safety. It'll be a 2-0 final score. That's my prediction. We can't make picks yet. It's too early in the show. Back on track. Let's talk about what happened last week because there was a bunch of games. There was a lot of fun action. Started things off with a South Division battle between Fort Worth and the Houston Headhunters. That was the game that you and I called. Listen, the final score is not very indicative of what happened in that game. Final score was Fort Worth winning it on the road 41-15, but it was pretty close all the way till about midway through the fourth quarter. Things just kind of went nuts.
Yeah, a whole lot of turnovers, a whole lot of nonsense went against Houston, but they were right in it, like you said, up until the midway through the fourth quarter, and it was a great game. Just got away at the end, and Fort Worth just put it to them, stuck the dagger in them, and twisted it and kicked them as they fell.
It's oddly specific. There were some surprises as well last week. Vancouver, who's just been absolutely destroying teams. Vancouver was at home hosting the Sin City Samurai. It's a Sim football league. It's the Sim City Samurai. They missed an opportunity.
They sure did. They sure did.
Sim City Samurai. Anyway, they came into the game with a record of 2-3, and they were at Vancouver, an undefeated team at that point, and managed to get the win, 20-14. Vancouver not able to put up as many points as usual.
Nope, but I called it.
Yeah, well, I
made a good pick there.
Yeah. We'll get to picks later. You keep trying to jump ahead to picks.
Yeah, it's a short week, man.
Yeah? How was your pick with Indianapolis? Did that work out for you?
It was terrible.
It never does. Denver, 38-7 over Indy. Obviously a surprise to you because, I know you'd picked Indy. We'll move on to the next one. Our shutout game, Bossier City. Bossier City's 4-1 right now. They're having an absolutely fantastic season. They hosted the Los Angeles Lycans 24-0. That was our shutout game.
Yeah, look, and much respect. I am finally starting to acknowledge them as a legit Louisiana team. Bossier City.
You've come a long way because I remember when Bossier City was first announced, you got very territorial.
Yeah.
You said, that's my state. How dare they invade it?
I did.
You hated them.
Yep. And then we lost to them. And that was it.
And I quit. Beat them, join them.
And I quit.
Yeah. You're like, I guess so. Well, there's only one Louisiana team left.
They came in, thought I was going to kick them out. They came in, beat me, kicked me out. So let's go with that.
Lots of other good games throughout the week. Carolina at home over Florida, 30-14 over the Storm. It seems like Carolina always has Florida's number. Baltimore kind of put a thumping on Queen City, another game that was kind of close for a little bit, and then Baltimore did Baltimore things. Several other great games throughout the week, including the Monday Night Spectacular, Minnesota putting up a win over the Albuquerque Adams. Albuquerque always seems to, I don't know, it's interesting with them on the road. They can't lose at home, but on the road it's really kind of hit and miss.
And they are dominant at home too, like crazy. But on the road, they're competitive, but they just struggle to get the win.
They sure do. Another fun game last week. Nashville Tempo at the Chicago Warriors. Both teams coming in winless in that game, and you look at a couple of teams with no wins. 5 losses apiece coming into that week, and you're thinking, man, this is going to be a terrible game. No, it was It was not a terrible game. It was
was
probably one of the best games of the week.
It was, and that was one of the ones I was actually cheering for because I had Nashville
Yeah,
beating Chicago there, and I was rooting for it. It was a good one. It was fun.
I picked Chicago.
You sure did.
All right. Well, let's get into this week's schedule and the 8 games that we have coming up here this weekend. It's going to be a really fun weekend, I think. Starts off with Minnesota at Indianapolis. 3-2 Minnesota at the 2-3 Indianapolis Ramblers. It's a fun rivalry game. It's been a rivalry for the past few seasons now. We'll talk about that one in some great detail later on in the show. And then a couple of games coming up later on Friday night, starting at 10:15 p.m. We've got Arizona at Carolina. Those 2 records just kind of surprised me. 2-2 Arizona, 4-2 Carolina. That's not what you usually see at this point in the season.
Yeah, Eddie Gage's team sitting at 500 is something that we haven't seen in a little while now, especially the way he kind of put things together. But I mean, they're off to a slow start. Carolina doing a little bit better, right? But they're not doing it in a very good way. I'm saying a very good way. I just think it's more of a, let's just let it go. I don't want to go there right now.
4-0 Washington at 4-1 Vancouver, a battle in the Western Division. That one at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's going to be another great one, too. That's our Friday slate. Starting things off for us on Sunday, because Saturday is just gone. Not here in the SFL this weekend. Just you get Saturday off. But Sunday night, SFL football will be back. Baltimore at Los Angeles. 4-2 Baltimore. They've kind of figured some things out. They were 2-2 at one point. Now they're 4-2 in Los Angeles. I want to have so much faith in them, but now they're down at 2-4. And but they are at home. They have that giant lichen thing looming over the stadium. Maybe that'll knock down some vultures.
Maybe.
We'll have to see. You're like, I don't even know what this guy's talking about. Me neither. At 6:45, we've got Bossier City at Albuquerque. That one's the game that I've got circled on my calendar. That was one of the ones that we were thinking of for our game of the week. It's not the one we ultimately picked, but it definitely could have been a contender for the game of the week. That one's going to be fantastic and will ultimately decide, the top spot in the South Division, at least, halfway through the season.
Right.
So at 9 p.m., we've got Charleston at Queen City. A couple of teams that, listen, Charleston at 1-5, they're better than 1-5. They've played better than 1-5. They're just not getting the wins. Queen City at 3-3. They're better than 0-12 last season, but man, sometimes they look good. Sometimes they look downright awful.
And this is one again. This is a game I got to have circled outside of the ones you already mentioned. But this is one I think is going to. I think we're going to see if Charleston kind of start turning the season around, or if we're going to see Queen City kind of beat one of the better teams that we think are in the league right now.
We'll see what happens with that one. Then we got Chicago at Oklahoma City at 9:15 p.m. Oklahoma City only played 4 games so far. They haven't won one yet. They're at home. They're against a team that's only won 1 out of 6. But I mean, Chicago put up points last week. They put up all kinds of yards. It's going to be an interesting one. Then, of course, we've got this week in the SFL on Monday night at 7:15. And at 8:15, the Monday Night Spectacular, Fort Worth at DC, a pair of 3-2 teams that, again, sometimes they look good. Sometimes they look like they struggle. One of them is going to continue on with a winning record. Another one's going to 500.
I guess we'll find out.
We will find out. So let's get into our game of the week. This week we picked 4-0 Washington at 4-1 Vancouver. It's the top 2 teams in the West, and they'll go head-to-head later on tonight to distance themselves from the rest of the division. This might be one of the most hotly contested divisions down the stretch between these 2 teams. Plus, you have Sin City at 3-3. Guess who's 4th in the division? 4th you usually think is like, it must not be a very good team, right? It's Arizona. Arizona is 4th in the division. Like, that blew my mind when I saw that. You think they're going to stay in 4th? Because I sure don't. So you've got these 2 teams up top, but then you've got Sin City in there. Arizona's going to be in that top 3 at some point.
Right, you would think.
Yeah. So who's going to end up top of that division? It's a crazy division. I can't wait to see how it plays out down the stretch. But let's talk about this matchup tonight. Vancouver, what have they been doing right this season? Scoring. They're number 2 in putting points on the board, 164 of them, in fact, through 5 games. But Washington, they've been doing things a little bit different. They're not putting up a ton of points on the board, but they're not Well, other than last week when they put up 33 in that win over Houston. But how are they winning then? Defense. They're number 2 in points allowed. But if they're number 2 in points allowed, who's number 1 in points allowed? Vancouver. So, they say defense wins championships, right? So who's going to win this one? I don't know. Vancouver, they're firing on all cylinders right now. They're absolutely pummeling the competition at every turn. A 2-score game in week 2, 8-score game in week 3. A 2-score win in week 4, and then a 6-score win in week 5. Just ridiculous wins that they're getting. How did Sin City beat them in week 6? I have no idea. I don't know what happened. Coach was asleep that night or something. Washington, they've played some great defense, but they're going to need some additional consistency on offense if they're going to remain the last unbeaten team in the league for season 24.
Look, and Washington, right? I'm going to break it down with them first. The former St. Louis Gladiators, Motor City V8s, turn now the Washington Trident, have completely shed the image of their history and what they've had, right? Because we all know the struggles the Gladiators had and the V8s and everything else. They're off to a 4-0 start and just have looked good doing so, right? But look, and by beating some really, really good teams, it went up against everybody. Look, their strength of victory is 4th in the SFL by having beaten no team currently being under 500. Every team they played and beat right now have been 500 or better.
Yeah.
Look, and they have done so offensively behind the veteran leadership of quarterback, go Revs, Tommy Utah, who is the most efficient quarterback in the league with a 101.9 QB rating. There's no other quarterback in the league that has I think low 90s is where the next quarterback is right now, but he's over 100.
Yep.
Along with a 62% completion percentage, which is 4th in the league. Overall, right, the offensive ranks across, if you look at across their rankings, are not the best, but they are efficient, right? And they are really good on third downs and converting those third downs to first downs. They're also really good in the red zone as well, and they actually have one of, the fewest turnovers in the league right now as an offense. So if you look at that, whenever you do those type of things, you put yourself in really, really good positions to actually put points on the board, stay on the field, and everything else. So, and this has them at the top of the league right now as the only unbeaten team in the SFL.
Yeah, they sure are. And one of the best ways to do that is by not turning that ball over. If you're able to move down the field, even if you can't put points on the board, if you're able to punt and, give the other team a long field, it makes it a lot harder for them to score too. Defensively is really where they shine, though. The defense is a bit better than the offense, at least on paper. Like I said, number 2 in points allowed so far this season.
Yeah, look, and they have one of the better rush defenses in there too, right? They're top 5 in rush defense, right? Look, and they do have their faults, right? That they have allowed some of the most passing yards in the league thus far, right? Where they're ranked near the bottom in that category. But here you're when you're 4-0 and winning games, nobody really cares what the statistics say, right? So
only
no
the
one
record
cares, right?
Yep.
But guess what they have? They have one of the largest veteran presence on this defense, and it's led by, former linebacker turn defensive end and Ronnie Panani, who leads the team with 3 sacks this season. Look, the defense, it's also contributed to them having one of the better turnover differentials actually in the league right now. So when you're able to do that on offense and defense, I really do feel like, and it's kind of weird to say, right? A Gladiator team or V8's team turn what it is under this new leadership that they have.
Yeah.
They're sitting at 4-0. And it's like, hey, they're complete from offense and defense, in my opinion.
Yeah, they sure are. But you know who another team that is? Vancouver, who they're facing later on tonight. And Vancouver, I don't know what happened last season, but man, have they turned back the clock now? And they look like the Vancouver of old. They're off to their best start since season 18.
Look, and they also started 4-1. And what's very important, it's almost a mirror image of how they were back in season 18, whenever they had that same 4-1 record, right? So look, then and now they are top 5 in points a game, passing yards a game, and total offense. In season 18, what did they do? They finished 11-1 and made the semifinals. The offense is led by quarterback Christian Brown, who is top 5 in passing yards, completion percentage, and QBR. Hall of Famer Brett Killian is top 8 in receptions and receiving yards, along with Nick Lockett, who's also contributing. And guess who? Guess what? John Michael Sudduth, go Revs, former tight end of the Revs, right? Who have been
You always got to loop that
I
in
sure
there.
do. Just and Christian Brown, those guys are his top targets. The run game has been serviceable, when they need it, right? But hasn't blown anybody away. But we know what they have in the backfield. It's a really, really solid backfield with Sudo Nakai and Bravado back there, and also Ike McBride back there run the ball. So we know that they can run the ball on offense if they have to.
They can, yeah. And did you notice how when you brought up Nick Lockett, I didn't say go Aztecs? I mean, you can let your players go.
No, I can't.
You can let them. You can let them just like the horse. Ride off.
Revs for life, man. Revs for life.
Anyway, let's talk about Vancouver's defense. Definitely a solid unit, arguably the best in the SFL this season.
Top 4 in every statistical category on defense.
That's crazy.
Number 1 in points allowed per game. Number 1 in rush yards, which they allow 56 a game. Number 1 in total defense. They're only allowing 225 yards on average on their games. 4th best passing defense. Number 2 in takeaways. Unreal number right here. I'm going to say, and people, you can just disprove it or whatever that you want. They only allow 13% converted third downs to first down. I think that's crazy insane.
It is.
They also pressure the quarterback extremely well with having 15.5 sacks through 5 games, which is 2nd best in the SFL. Their front 4, in my opinion, is among the best in the league with Bobo Caudill, Achilles Papatonis, Gerald Giudice, and also Michael Rury, holding down the fort up front. That's where the defense success starts, and what they do, they force the other team into mistakes, and when that happens, the defensive secondary comes to it and cleans it all up to the tune of 14 interceptions, 2nd best in the SFL. This is a championship-type team already, but it's a long season, but I say right now, they are, I think, where you want to be, peaking at the end of the season, even though we're still in the 2nd type of quarter of the season, but, I mean, they're looking really good.
They are looking really good. It's going to be an exciting game. This is our game of the week, and you don't have to wait for it long because it's going to be right after the Minnesota-Indianapolis game later on tonight. So no waiting for that one. So let's take one last dip into week 6 and talk about our offensive and defensive player spotlights from the week, and you'll be happy because I know you were giving me a little bit of grief last week, as you just love to do. 3 weeks in a row, I picked a quarterback for my offensive player spotlight. Not this week. Not this week. No, sir. Early on in my Aztecs career, I coined the phrase #throw it to the tight end. Why? Because I was a diva and I wanted the ball like on every play. I honestly didn't even care if we won or lost as long as I had like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like I just wanted the ball. But listen, this week I looked no farther than that tight end position, and Chicago's Paulie Truth with his 259-yard, 3-touchdown performance on 11 catches. Look at this. Look at those stats. It's about 24 yards per catch and just under a touchdown on every 4 catches. I mean, we'll roll through these clips here. You see all the different touchdowns and catches that he made. Quarterback type attack targeted him heavily, 24 times to be exact. So technically, he caught less than half of what was being thrown his way. Can you imagine if he had caught them all? He would have had like 500 yards on the night. It would have been ridiculous. Or listen, even if he caught a handful more, the guy had 259 yards. Just look how easy it is for him to get open. Just reaching up, plucking that ball right out of the sky, breaking tackles. Well, not that one, but he broke a bunch of other tackles and scored all sorts of points for the team. Listen, he currently leads the team in catches, yards, average yards, touchdowns, and has the longest catch on the season, a 60-yarder from this past week. Truth is, he's in all-star contention right now after that performance. He's looking to make that roster for the 2nd time in his career. 8 seasons in now, he's over 3,500 yards and 25 touchdowns for his career. And his performance was enough to take down Nashville last week and keep the Tempo winless, putting a win finally in Chicago's win column and absolutely putting on a clinic and how the tight end position should be played. Total safety blanket for type attack. It's nice when you have that option to just kind of throw the ball down there and you have your big tight end somewhere down the field.
You look, and I can't agree more. You want to know why? I think I have been saying this for a while, right? When they were back in Seattle and doing good things out there, he was a very, very big part of their offense.
Yeah.
And it was really good to see, despite the team I picked losing last week, but it was really, really good to see that, hey, look, maybe they listened. Look, I'm not saying they listened to me, but maybe they realized, hey, look, let's turn back the clock and actually see what made him successful, because we were really good when he was involved in the offense. And what they did, he put up monster numbers last week. And what did they do? They got their first win of the season last week by feeding that man the ball. Why? Because he's such a huge mismatch.
Yeah.
And they actually took advantage of it there, because obviously he was uncoverable last week.
He was uncoverable. And that's the thing. If you look at his stats on the season and you actually delete out last week's stats, he's almost been kind of non-existent. And then you add in last week's stats and suddenly, bam, 1 week and it makes him into an all-star candidate. Keep doing that. You do more of that, you're going to win more games. Pauly Truth is that offense right now, along with Ty Patak. The other players, listen, they all have a role to fill, but Pauly Truth really, he just sealed the deal for the team last week, and that was my offensive player spotlight. Let's get into your defensive player spotlight, and I think a lot of people could probably guess where you might be going with this one.
I think this was going to be no secret. Why? Because because he actually did this early on in the week. It was a no-brainer. I didn't think anybody was ever going to top it, and they didn't throughout the week. So my defensive player spotlight of the week is going to be Carolina Skyhawks linebacker number 99, Shrevon Prasad.
Yes, sir.
Why? Because he's got 3 interceptions, 1 pick six, 4 tackles, 2 TFLs, a forced fumble, and a pass defense. And what we're going to find out right here is going to be right here on his first interception. He hit a guy off the line and tied in, comes off that coverage, is able to recognize, get it and pick it up, and then take it in right there.
Pick six.
So, right, and already a pick six right now for him off the first one he's gotten right here. So, and you can see his versatility, being able to drop back in coverage and then do it right here. And he's showing how his ability to play the line of scrimmage right here, right off of a run blitz right here. Goes in there and just chews it right up and tackles him for a loss. It was lucky he was even back there for that little bit of time.
I was never that fast.
So look, and here he is again, finding something right here. It shows, hey, I can drop back in coverage and recognize what the offense is trying to do, and then go in there and get another TFL on somewhat of a swing pass, right? Here goes another interception. What's he do? Sits himself back into the zone, watches the QB, and when you have a backup quarterback in there, it's kind of easy to do. They're going to make some mistakes. He sits back and grabs that ball. Here's another one. Similar thing, watching the quarterback, similar coverage. And what's he do? Pick it off once again. Now, this is one of the true things that are actually going to be truly, truly special coming up here shortly as we watch him right here pick it off and how he played it, is he is a complete linebacker. Plays the line of scrimmage really well. What's he do? Come up in there and he just knocks the ball out right there, right at the first down marker.
Crazy.
And just shuts it down right there. A veteran like him, coming in and right here and making a statement, like this against a team like this. The 14-season vet, 2-time All-Star. He is 16th all-time in tackles amongst everybody that's ever played in the SFL, all 21st season. That is his second pick six of his career. And you guessed it, that's 2 more than Eddie Gage himself. So, yes, that was not only his first one this season, but it's only the second one of his career. He's played a lot less time what Eddie Gage has, but he already has 2, and he doesn't play in a position that typically he's used for catching the ball. But guess what? He does it. So, congratulations, Shrevon Prasad. You deserved it very, very well. And I think it'd be hard-pressed to find anyone play a more complete game than he did last week.
Yeah, I was watching that game live, and I remember texting you during that game and telling you, listen, I don't even care what happens the whole rest of the weekend. It doesn't matter. Shrevon Prasad is your defensive player spotlight of the week. He's got to be. I mean, that performance was just insane. And it was a tribute game. They were wearing tribute uniforms for Ibari Amon Eaglin, who tragically passed away. And, we had talked about it on the show. Obviously that rolled into the weekend and led into that game. They wore tribute uniforms with his name on it, which was really fantastic to see. All the helmets said 29, and Shrevon was in the chat that whole game. And, he said, listen, I'm leaving it all on the field tonight for Ibari. And holy crap.
He did.
Yeah, he sure did. It was like, I don't know how you willed that into existence, but that performance was absolutely insane. I've never seen a linebacker play a more complete game.
He just played out of his mind, you know, and it shows that he was fueled by something else, and he got in there and he did it for his former defensive teammate. So, credit to him and the whole team.
It's a beautiful thing to see. Of course, unless you're Florida, obviously Ron Haynes, our guy behind the scenes that makes those wonderful clips for us. I mean, I kind of felt a little bad, but
I didn't. I'm like, the man earned it. Like
the man earned it. Ron put it together. Special shout out as always to Ron Haynes, who puts those together for us. Thank you so much. It adds to the production value of the show. We love it. Thank you very much. So, all right, the streets are talking. The community vote that we've declared to be the official. Now it's the official community vote of the SFL. It's not just the streets are talking poll anymore. This is the official league player of the week vote. So, see how the voting turned out this week. The week 6 voting, it was the most runaway week of player of the week voting. There was a lot of just pretty unanimous type decisions. 79 total responses, which is one of the higher totals that we've seen come in on the voting. And on offense, they did agree and said Pauly Truth with 60% of the vote, 48 votes coming in for Pauly Truth. Honorable mentions to Dwayne Salmons and Connor Weston. Yes, go Revs.
Go Revs.
He's on the horse right now, riding off into the sunset.
Sure is.
On defense, the community once again agreed. 47 of the votes, 59.5% voted for Shervon Prasad. Like I said, both of those performances were pretty unanimous all around, I think. And DJ Kilgan and Johnny Bravo, the honorable mentions there, with 19 and 6 votes each, respectively. So congratulations to Pauly Truth and Shervon Prasad once again. So coming up, we've got a great game just minutes away. It's a rivalry game since both of these teams entered the league back in season 19. They entered the league together and immediately decided, you know what, we should have a rivalry. You've got the Minnesota Legend at the Indianapolis Ramblers. It's always an exciting game to look forward to. These teams have met 7 times previously, Minnesota winning the series currently 4-3. Ironically, the home team has never lost. Fun fact about this rivalry, whoever's been at home has always won 7 straight times.
I don't know if it's a fun fact. That's an odd fact.
I thought it was fun.
It's just odd.
You're odd. I'm sorry. That's no way to talk to your Valentine.
I mean, you're not wrong, but
why do I got to put you on blast like that? I'm telling you. Anyway, clock's ticking. Both of these teams are fighting to try to get into the top spot in the Central Division. They're currently trailing behind Denver, who had a horrible season last season, and now they're sitting up top of the Central Division at 4-2. Typically, these teams play each other really close. 5 of their 7 games have been single-digit margin of victories. However, twice, Minnesota has absolutely blown out Indianapolis, once by 27 and once by 45 in a 69-24. Shout out to Harish. 69-24 beat down, the most points ever scored by Minnesota. It's the most ever allowed by Indianapolis. So, Indianapolis isn't forgetting that. Minnesota's not forgetting that either, though. However, twice Minnesota, both of those 2 games were in Minnesota. Tonight we're in Indianapolis, a place that Minnesota has never won a game. Indianapolis 2-1 at home this season. They're looking to keep that winning record at home going. Statistically, these teams look very even on paper. I'm sure you'll talk about that. Feels like anyone could win this one, and it should be a very exciting matchup.
Look, and Minnesota, right? We all know that they had a rough start to their season, lost to you guys in the opener, right? But they end up losing another one like that too, and it wasn't even close because they just looked pretty terrible, right? In those losses, they were outscored 68-17.
Yeah, uncharacteristic.
Yeah, which is not. I mean, they're not even used to really giving up that many points like that. So look, they have since rebounded since the last loss by outscoring their opponents 54-12 in the last 2 games.
Yep.
Look, and they have gotten back to what they do best, is having ball control type offense and playing extremely, extremely good defense. The running back, Colin Hart, right? He averages nearly 5 yards a carry over the last 2 games.
No go Revs?
No, man, because he left
He's
us before
old
we
news.
left. Yeah, so
Boo.
look, and along with the rest of the backfield, who over right, like the last 2 games they ran for over ran for over 150 yards the last 2 games each. So look, former MVP quarterback Johnny Reno is starting to correct his early season mistakes,
Yes.
and is around 62% completion percentage, along with 3 touchdowns during these same 2 games. So it seems like they're starting to get those things corrected and everything else, and getting back to that ball control type offense. Hey, running it and getting themselves in those third and shorts, allowing Johnny Reno to do his things and get back to the one of the most efficient quarterbacks that we've seen in the SFL as of late. So look, I mean, their offense is doing good right now.
You know who else is doing good is that defense. So the defense absolutely relentless, only surrendering 12 points in the last 2 games. No touchdowns allowed. It's I mean, they're just on fire. And it comes down to their players too. You know, listen, this is a Valentine's Day show, right? So let's keep it Valentine's Day themed. You, I think every guy out there has that girl that got away, you know? Matthew Alvarado, albeit not a girl, he's the one that got away from me, man.
Look, and he is
Man,
one
is
of the,
he good?
and he is one of the keys to this defense, right? Along with what all the other players they have, he's part of the reason why that they have forced 6 turnovers along with 7 sacks, and they're number 1 in the SFL right now with 17 sacks. Over these last 2 games that they've had. So look, the front 7 of this unit, in my opinion, is the best in the game, right? Not only Alvarado, but it's also, in my opinion, led by defensive end Mark Mello, who leads the SFL in sacks with 8.
He's so fast,
right? Look,
man, the way he gets into that backfield is ridiculous.
And he ended up winning like the player of the defensive player spotlight early on in the season for us, right? Look, they have been back to their smothering type defense over the last couple of weeks, and if they keep this up, they could be another top 4 seed in the playoffs for the 3rd straight season. Why? Because when they started to get dominant, they get dominant. You played them in the semifinals. Probably, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably the hardest game y'all played in the playoffs. In the semifinals.
It was the scariest game, man.
And we talk about it, all the time. Like, hey, we think the best games is the semifinals game, and that lived up to it right there. So look, if they keep playing at what they've been, playing the last 2 games, hey, look out, league.
Yeah, lookout league indeed. I can't wait to see what Minnesota does down the stretch. But let's talk about Indianapolis, because that's just listen. We'll stick to that Valentine's theme. They got a special place in your heart.
Yeah, look,
they love to break it.
They do, and they break my heart. No, look, it's the team that loves to let me down even more than the Carolina the Carolina Skyhawks.
Either way,
right? It's the Ramblers, and I don't understand it. Right? They love me, they hate me, they break my heart all the time. But I'm always calling back to them and say, look, I believe in you, and they let me down. Right? They give me hope that they're gonna get on the right track. And then what do? They just leave me a lot to be desired. They just poop all over the place, and I can't understand it, right? They are somehow being haunted by the ghost of the Chad Rowland, and they may need an exorcist to cure that ailment.
Yeah.
Because you know what? We got to get anything the Chad related, and maybe it'll all get fixed. I don't know, but they got to do something. Look. But offensively, look, they have been pretty good, right? To go with, I got to say go Revs again, right? Because running back Chris Grant Jr. is leading the team in rushing, along with the help of his other, fellow backfield members and Andrew Gibson and Joe Holloman. The passing game isn't terrible, right? But it isn't great either, right? They struggle on 3rd downs. They just have not had the success on 3rd down and are below average in the league on converting those 3rd downs. Yeah. Look, they will need to improve on 3rd down if they want to, start stacking those wins to get themselves back in it, right? And offensively, it kind of starts tonight, and you have to do it against one of the toughest defenses.
They do. And it's a good thing that we don't pick the game, that we're calling, because that way you don't have to pick whether Indianapolis is going to win or lose tonight.
The schedule saved me.
Yeah, the schedule saved you for 1 week only. So speaking of a unit that needs to help save their team, it's their defense, and they have just been so hit and miss this season. When they do good, the team wins. When they don't do good, the offense can't pick up the slack for them.
And they just look bad, right? Yeah. They just surrender 23 points a game, right? And they have the 4th worst rushing defense in the league, and it's not very good. If you're allowing teams to run all over you, it's not a good thing, right? And a bright spot on defense is their strong safety in King Jamal, who is 3rd in the league in tackles. But I am not sure you want your safety tackling people that much. That means that the defender, the offense is getting to the 3rd level and running right by everybody else. Man, you got to clean it up, right? Even though he's the 3rd best tackler in the league, I don't know if I want my safety to be that involved in making those tackles. So, I mean, they got a lot to clean up on defense. Look, and it starts tonight. Look, they're playing at home, and as you stated, right, they've won every game at home against Minnesota. So, who knows what can happen?
Got all kinds of people in the chat with us talking about the game. In fact, when we said let's talk about Indianapolis, Robert Henson jumping right in there. Do we have to? That's kind of how a game breakdown works. Yes, yeah. Demond Simeon in the chat says blame Chad.
I blame the Chad.
Yes, we always blame the Chad. Listen. Pretty much anything that goes wrong, you can just say, "Come on, Chad."
Yep.
And pretty much is applicable.
The Chad. That's why he's the Chad.
The Chad.
The Chad.
Yeah, the Chad. Anyway, appreciate all you being here and joining us live and participating in the chat. Let's get into our picks, Gerald. It's going to be a shorter pick segment because we've only got 7 picks this week. And we did pretty good.
Yeah. Because we actually have less games to pick. I have less ways
less
to be
chance
right.
To be wrong.
No, less chance to be right.
Oh, same thing.
No, it's not.
All right. Speaking of being right, 7 out of 10 we got last week. That's not too shabby.
Yeah, back
That's
on
passing. 70%.
back on the horse. He ain't going nowhere.
How do you ride a 2-legged? Where do you sit?
It happens. Balance.
But what do you sit on? Just like a stump?
It's back.
It makes sense.
He's built different.
Yeah, he's built different. We'll go with that. I'm 36 and 26 on the season. You're 37 and 25. You still got me by 1 game. Let's see if maybe this week shakes things up just a little bit as we get into our picks. And we'll start off with Arizona at Carolina. Who do you got and why?
Arizona did great. They had a great game last week, played some inspired football, and they are back at home again, right? And they're welcoming Arizona. But I just think, a 2-2 Eddie Gage team is unacceptable for him.
Yes.
I do think they're going to Carolina. I think they're a little bit more put together. Carolina, even though they played good last week, I do think they're a little bit kind of all over the place. I still think they got to corral all that and bring it together a little bit more. I think Arizona goes into Carolina and wins it.
And I'll agree with you on this pick. I also picked Arizona. Like you said, Carolina, they did play great last weekend. And, Shervon Prasad obviously was a big part of that. It's going to be hard. Listen, he got our defensive players spotlight. He got the vote of the community. Getting that 3 interceptions, the 4. Come on, man. It's not going to happen every week. And I think a team like Arizona is just a little bit more complete, and I think they will go into Carolina, and Arizona will get back into the win column. They'll get a winning record this week. But even with a loss, Carolina would still have a winning record as well. So, they'll still be up there. Arizona for me. Washington at Vancouver.
This is and this is one I thought was extremely interesting to pick. Why? Because I do think these teams are they're doing really, really well. I don't think anybody expected it. It's at least anybody in recent memory thinks of Vancouver a little bit different than what we've seen long ago in the past, right? Vancouver is really dominant and everything else. A little while back, like I said, like we mentioned, season 18, they went 11-1 after starting 4-1, right? Washington themselves have had a really, really good season. Nobody really expected. But I have to take Washington right here. I think they have what it takes because this is going to be one of the harder games that Vancouver has had to play this season. And a team matched up like Washington, I really do think they're going to go to Canada and actually knock off the Legion, right? I think they're going to do some things that they're going to be able to shut down that passing offense that they've had, as of recently. It's going to force them to beat them in the run. And if Vancouver can do it, hey, I think they might do it because they do have the tools to do it.
They do.
But I do think Washington has the necessary tools and is going to game plan for everything they're looking to throw at them. I think Washington wins it.
John DeSantis in the chat says, Mike makes this show great. I think I got a new Valentine. You can run along. Wait, actually, no, we got to finish the show. Don't go anywhere. Not quite yet. Anyway, so...
Okay, great.
You're like, I don't know what just happened. Anyhow, my pick, I'm going to go with Vancouver. I'm going to go with the home team in this one. Another close game, tight game to call, right? I mean, you've got the last remaining undefeated team going up against a team that arguably could be undefeated, but Sin City somehow had their number last week. When the records are this close, I really start to just compare the team stats and see which team is just performing better overall as a whole. And honestly, that's Vancouver by a lot. So they just have a lot of the statistical categories just up there, and they're just all around a more complete team.
Washington's played a lot of better talent, right?
Yeah,
everybody they've played has been 500 above. So I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. We'll find out. I'm ignoring the chat for now. Baltimore at Los Angeles. Who do you got?
So look, I love Rochelle. She knows I love it. Love her, and they're playing at home, and I like some of the things that they're doing there. I feel like they're trying to get some things on track. But
you
Baltimore
can tell that was
is
coming.
just too strong of a team playing a LA team who's still trying to figure a lot of things out. And when you're playing a team like that, you still can't be in the mode of trying to figure things out,
Right.
and expect to beat some of these top tier teams like this. So, I'm for the third straight pick. I'm picking the road team in Baltimore.
Yeah, you're really going the road route this week so far. It's listen, that's a dangerous gamble. 2 weeks in a row, we had I think it was 7 out of the 10 games, or it must have been 8 out of the 10 because there was only 3 away teams that won. So 8 out of 11. I don't know. The home team's been winning quite a bit recently, but yeah. Oh, good. Keep picking away teams, and maybe it'll help me out. Although in this case, I'm also picking the away team. I got to go with Baltimore in this one as well. To the point that you said, I mean, Baltimore's not figuring things out. They have figured things out. Los Angeles is still trying to get things where they want it to be, and I think Baltimore is going to get the best of them this week. Bossier City at Albuquerque.
Look,
you stick with your road theme.
Yeah, so Albuquerque, look, and we know that they are a really good team at home, and they're extremely tough to beat. They just struggle on the road. So, and they are at home. But the team that's emerged themselves as an Louisiana team, I'm almost there. You almost convinced me. You go into Albuquerque and you beat them. I will fully acknowledge you as a Louisiana team, and you represent the entire state. So I'm expecting
change
you
out the banner.
Absolutely not.
Oh.
I expect you to go into Albuquerque and knock them off for one of the first times ever in their home turf. Make it happen, and they have the tools. Just like last week, they went in and they shut the team out last week. So look, and they can do it. They have the tools to do it offensively and defensively. I think they can do it, and I do think they will go into Albuquerque and knock them off.
I'm going to go with Albuquerque, and I'll tell you why. And this isn't necessary. Well, it is. It's a shot at Bossier City. They're a South Division rival. I got to take shots at my rivals, right? Have you seen Bossier City?
So is Albuquerque. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know, but somebody's got to win. There's no ties in this league, if only. Did you see Bossier City's strength of schedule?
It doesn't matter. They're just beating who's in front of them.
Did you see it? Dead last.
It doesn't matter.
Dead last. The teams that they've beat haven't been good. Albuquerque, they're good. They're at home. I think Albuquerque gets the win. Charleston at Queen City.
So I know this is one of the games I marked as one of the most interesting ones that were actually on the schedule.
Yeah.
Because Charleston is better than 1-5, but Queen City I think is just have something going on. They're on the verge of actually breaking themselves out of it and actually making something really good happen. I'm taking Queen City at home. I don't think Charleston has what it takes to go into Buffalo and actually beat Queen City. So I'm taking Queen City this week.
And I want to pick Buffalo, but I can't. I still can't do it. They're just still so hit and miss. It's crazy. And I saw Charleston up close and personal last week. They played really well. They played really well in the Sims too. I think they're going to. I think they're going to get the best of Queen City. I think they're a better team than their record shows. Chicago at Oklahoma City.
Yeah, this is one that was for me. It wasn't very difficult, right? Because Chicago, I picked them a few times. They let me down. Oklahoma City, like I said, is arguably one of the worst teams in the league, right? They're one of two teams who haven't won anything, right? So, but you know what? Oklahoma City is at home, and I do think they're going to have to unleash that kind of firepower. I just don't think Chicago has that much of a defense to try and stop some of the things they're going to do in Oklahoma City. It's going to be a really, really tight game. It was more of a toss-up for me, but I got to take Oklahoma City in this one.
The way that Chicago played last week, I think that they can easily take on a team like Oklahoma City. So I think second week in a row, I'm going to pick Chicago in this one. I think they're going to go on the road. I think they're going to get their second win in as many weeks. Fort Worth at DC.
I think DC is going to take this one. I think Fort Worth and their and their herd of cattle are going to go to DC, and the Dragons will be right there to burn them to bones.
Just eat them.
So yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Delicious.
But look, I do
Cows
think
are tasty, man.
I do think DC is going to have what it takes to beat them. Fort Worth, it seems like as of late, I mean, they kind of struggle on the road at times, and I think they're a different team on the road. And DC, I think it's stronger at home.
Yeah, every once in a while, Fort Worth puts up 40+ points, and then they don't the next week. So
they kind of disappear.
Yeah, and I think DC is just overall a better team out of the two this season so far. Their records, I think, are the same, but I think DC is the better team. And that's all the time that we got for the Week 7 edition of the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. I'm Mike Daggs. Gerald Smith will be in the booth in just a little bit for Minnesota at Indianapolis. Who's going to win? As Matt Willson would say, there's only one way to find out, and that's on the field. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. We'll see you at the game.